Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world, and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is June 17th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1915, former NWA Mid-American Tag Team Champion, Butch Boyette. 1962, the Japanese legend himself, Matsuhiro Misawa. 1968, one more Japanese legend, Minoru Suzuki. And we're going to keep that positivity train a-rolling. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for June 17th. Jumping in the Wayback Machine and going all the way to 1934, where we see Mario News defeat Tony Canales in Mexico City, Mexico, to become the first holder of the Mexico National Welterweight title. Leaping ahead 13 years to 1957, where we see Cyclone defeat Toru Yamada for the NWA Southern Junior Heavyweight title in Birmingham, Alabama. Grooving into the 60s, 1964, Pat Patterson and Tony Bourne defeat Nick Bockwinkel and Buddy Monaro, Omar Atlas, for the NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team titles. Just a year later in 1965, Bob Orton Sr. wins a tournament for the vacant NWA Florida Southern Heavyweight title in Jacksonville, Florida. The title had been stripped from Tarzan Taylor in April. Grabbing my bell bottoms and going to 1972, Dutch Savage and Moondog Mayne defeat the Royal Kangaroos to win the NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team titles. Our final stop in the 70s, 1977, Butcher Brannigan and Killer Carl Krupp defeat Larry O'Day and Ron Miller for the NWA Austro-Asian Tag Team titles in Sydney, Australia. Grabbing my boombox and going to the 80s, 1982, Don Kernoodle and Jim Nelson defeat Porkchop Cash and Iceman King Parsons in Roanoke, Virginia, to win their second NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team titles. Just 1 year later, in 1984, Jake Roberts defeats Ron Garvin to win the NWA World Television title in Atlanta, Georgia. However, the title is immediately held up upon learning that Roberts used a foreign object to win the match. 1985, Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, the U.S. Express, defeat the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov for the WWF World Tag Team titles in Poughkeepsie, New York. This marked Windham and Rotunda's second and final WWF Tag Team reign. Staying in 1985, the Fabulous Ones, Steve Keirn and Stan Lane, defeat Ron Sexton and Billy Travis in a tournament final in Memphis, Tennessee, to win the AWA Southern Tag Team titles for an 11th time. 1988, Chris Benoit defeats Johnny Smith to win his second Stampede British Commonwealth Mid-Heavyweight title. Grabbing my flannel and going to the decade of grunge, 1995, ECW holds barbed wire hoodies and chokeslams at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In the main event, the Sandman defeats Cactus Jack by knockout in a barbed wire match to retain the ECW Heavyweight title. Moving ahead just 1 year to 1996, Flex Kavana, who would debut exactly 5 months later as Rocky Maivia at WWF Survivor Series, and Bart Sawyer defeat Brickhouse Brown and Reggie B. Fine in a tournament final for the USWA Tag Team titles. Those were your short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for June 17th. I'm the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.